So where in scriptures is taught this notion that all men receive grace enough to save their souls if they're willing to cooperate. He says that God wills to have all men to be saved and to come to the knowledge of the truth. This is God's desire. Okay, He desires that all men be saved and come to the knowledge of the truth. He says through His prophet Ezekiel that He does not desire the death of the wicked, but that the wicked should turn and be saved. So it seems pretty clear that what God desires is for people, is for mankind to come to the knowledge of the truth. So Bishop Hay goes on to say this. He says, "Now from this sincere will of God for the salvation of all men, it follows as a necessary consequence that He gives to all men such helps of His grace as are sufficient, if they make good use of them," right? To bring them to the knowledge of the truth and to salvation. For they're absolutely incapable of taking any step toward this end, right? So we learned that in the fall, man has lost all capacity because they do not have the grace of God to have all capacity to come to the knowledge of the truth on their own, apart from the grace of God. So if God desires that they be saved, and that God desires that people believe the truth and know the truth, then He has to give them grace to do so. All right? If He desires all men to come to the knowledge of truth, then that means He gives grace to all men so that they have the ability to do that. And He says that it would be inconceivable that God would desire the salvation of all men and yet not provide all men the graces needed to fulfill that end. Okay? To fulfill that end. So if He desired the salvation of all men, then He would provide all men with salvation, well, not salvations, but the graces necessary so that they could achieve the end of what God desires, which is to be saved. So he goes on to say, "For as they are absolutely incapable of taking any step toward this end without His aid, if He wills the end, which is salvation, He wills the end, He must of necessity apply the means in such a manner that if the end be not accomplished, it is not owing to Him. And if He did not do so, His affirming that He wills all men to be saved and even swearing that He wills not the death of the wicked would only be some joke, basically." So it would not even be a true statement. It would just be a phony. So God provides the grace to all men because He desires all men to be saved, and that if He doesn't provide that, then if people are not saved, okay, if people aren't saved, it has nothing to do with God, who didn't provide everything necessary for them. We can't blame God, okay, that they weren't able to come to the knowledge of the truth or to be saved, because they can't say to God, "Well, you didn't give us. You tell us that you want us to come to the knowledge of the truth and be saved, but you didn't give us the means by which to do this." There's no accusation that can be made, because God gave everybody what is sufficient for them in order to come to the knowledge of the truth and be saved, no matter what state they're in. So if that's what He desires, He's going to provide all the necessary steps and means and tools for people to come to that knowledge. So the first thing that we learn is that God desires the salvation of all men and provides the means. So, but that truth, He's going to necessarily provide the means to all men to be saved.